But all right, let's talk a second here. I do want to talk about the how draft mode needs to be improved. Draft mode as a whole is ultimately probably one of my new favorite modes to play the game in. I'm not a big constructed fan, as you can see. I can make decent constructed decks. I love making jank constructed decks, but I don't really have the time or energy that I wish I had to sit down and like really get in depth with these cards and see what kind of crazy stuff like our man Fatal Zeph can do. That dude has pulled out some amazing decks in the past, along with everyone on Superior Seekers and everyone at Heroic Starfish. Like, there's some really good deck builders out there. I'm not one of them. I can build some decent stuff. I love drafting. I love seeing the value you can get out of certain cards and just trying to make them work. That's my niche. I love draft. Drafting is my homeboy. It's the reward system that is going to kill draft if they do not improve it. And the reason I say that, and I entirely do mean it, is the fact that I went 9-2. I ran the gauntlet in bronze, and running the gauntlet in its own self is difficult because it's a one and done type deal. The last 3 games are one and done. So you if you make it all the way to 9, that's a big deal. That means you went undefeated for 3 more games after making it past the gauntlet. And all I got out of it was 2 booster packs of Mythical and a draft ticket. Like, I went the full distance. I only lost twice with a deck that I made from randomly constructed chosen cards with a random hero. I went the full run in bronze. Yeah, sure, bronze, whatever. And all I really got to show for it was 2 mythical packs. For my time, my energy for like 4 hours, that was it. That was it. I made essentially 200 gold in packs that I didn't need. That is bogus. That is supreme bogus. I do think the draft ticket needs to go away and be replaced with gold. They need to make it so that you can make an income on the digital currency in this game, because in a sense, drafting for card games is like gambling. It's a win big or like you lose to the house, where I feel like if you can make it to, I'd even say 5 wins. 5 wins, you break even. They give you 150 gold back, or at least a draft ticket, whatever, that's fine. They give you 150 gold back. Then some random prizes or whatever. But if you make it 6 and beyond, you should be getting more gold back than you paid to enter, so that you can make an income off of the gold. And that's how people can use this tool to be a free-to-play player, is to go into draft mode. Because mind you, it is physically impossible for everyone to go 5-2. Numerically, you can't have that. People will go 3-2 and lose gold. The house will win a majority of the time. But if you do good in draft, you should be getting a lot of gold back. And I think that gold should be increased. Like when you make it to the gauntlet, depending on if you made a gold, silver, bronze, like you literally ran the whole thing without losing in gold. You should get more money in gold than when you go into bronze. Like the gold outcome should be like, I don't know, 250 gold right away when you get into gold bracket. 100 maybe like what I say, 250, 200 for silver and 150 for bronze when you make it in. Like that, just you make your ticket back and then a little bit of extra gold, whatever, that's fine. Like that should be the base plus a little extra for make it there with whatever. And then as you run the gauntlet, because it is a one and done, your rewards, your bonuses should be increased almost exponentially. Because if you just make it to 6, you're like, yeah, I made it to the gauntlet, awesome. They're like, oh cool, here's your prize ticket back with a little bit extra gold for making it to a certain tier without losing with this deck. Then as you go in, it should be increased exponentially. Because like not only did you make it to the gold bracket, but then you won again without losing. And then you won again without losing. Because like if it was still like it's a still best of 3, then the prizes don't have to be that different. But the gauntlet, like because it's a one and done type thing, if you run the whole thing, you should get a lot of rewards. That means you spent a really good time building a really good deck with a really good hero out of random cards. That you don't get to go back and choose from. Like it's completely different from constructed. And I do believe that the reward system needs to be improved to something like that, where you can make it big in draft to incentivize people to keep going back into draft. Because if not, draft will bottleneck the same way that ranked did, where people will stop playing draft. If you do not get good rewards from draft, people will not see the time and energy being worth going into draft mode. And then we'll have like the 200 players in draft mode strictly dwindle down to like 50. And it'll be the 50 people who did well. And then those people will start doing well, and they'll like, oh, the only way to get gold is from missions, because I can't even level up cards in draft like I can in any constructed mode. I can't even do that. Even in adventure, I can level up the cards in gold. And then I could just like stop doing draft, and then draft will come down to like 4 or 5 people. And it'll bottleneck, and you'll have 10-minute queues, and you'll face the same person over and over and over again, and then no one will play draft. It'll bottleneck if the rewards don't meet what people's expectations are. I linked a post in the Discord for Hearthstone. Hearthstone is an amazing draft circuit. It does almost the same thing this one does. It gives you random 3 choice cards. You get to choose one of them. This is 4. You get to choose 2. So it's really good for that, for drafting. And the rewards for going 12 and 2, the guy made over 500 gold in income back. It was like 150 buy-in, and he made 550 plus gold, and he got a booster pack. Like, the rewards were worthwhile of doing draft, of doing really well, playing it methodically, and learning the draft mode entirely. So it's just like, it's one of those things where the reward system is going to kill draft mode. And it, in my opinion, is probably one of the best modes you guys have. For people that don't like constructed, for people that don't like ranked, for people that don't like the huge competitive play, who just want to play a card game for draft mode because that's what they find fun, will kill draft mode if the reward system do not make it worthwhile of keep going in. Because outside of gold, yeah, you can spend gems, and gems cost physical dollars. And I can guarantee you people are not going to be like, okay, well, I'll just $5 more and put in. Oh, I lost my draft. Or even if I won my draft, I got a draft ticket back. Cool. But I didn't make gold off of it. All I did was spend it in draft mode. So it's like one of those things where the reward system needs to be increased. Otherwise, this game, which I hate to say it, and I think we all know it, is struggling right now to find its player base again. We just got Uprising, so the players are starting to come back. We finally had this year-long wait for the set. All of this stuff came out. Draft mode, standard instead of legacy mode, adventure mode. All this stuff is coming back. The players are starting to return to the game, which is awesome. But if you do not reward the players for playing your game the way that we expect it, the way the TCG digital standard is now for Magic the Gathering Arena, for Hearthstone, for Eternal, for all these games, if your reward system does not meet the digital standard for card games right now, you will lose your player base again. And people will only jump into standard and constructed if they have the cards to make the new meta decks. Like, you won't find a whole bunch of people playing random janky stuff in standard, because right now the physical cards aren't even out, so people can't go buy the physical cards to scan them in and then get the cards that way. They have to have saved up the golden shards. And right now there's not a whole lot of people that did that because they left and waited for Uprising to come out. So they don't have the full set, which means there's 5 to 10 minute long queues in ranked because everyone has Awakening cards and they can't use them anymore. So everyone's going back into casual to try stuff out with the few Uprising cards they have. And those people might even run into stall again in casual, because that's where stall lives now. It's in casual. That's where, like, oh, I'll level up these cards, I'll complete these quests to win, I had a stall deck, it still works, I'll just keep playing that. Because I don't have the Kindred cards or the Uprising cards to redefine it. So I do think that right now, with the physical disconnect as bad as it is, and the digital and all that stuff, draft mode could be your best mode. It could be your best mode. Get a really heavy push on draft mode for people to play that, for people who just came back, to use draft as a way to potentially earn some gold, get that gold back away from the weekly missions, the daily missions, all that stuff. Give them another way to earn gold, and then buy those to buy your packs, to buy mats, to use whatever you want for the gold system. But give them rewards to benefit them for playing essentially at a casino for TCGs. It's such a fun mode, and a lot of people are having fun with draft mode. The only complaint is your reward system. And all you gotta do is give us more. And there's a reason you need to give us more for draft, is because we don't get to just choose and build a deck for an hour and build a meta deck with a theme. We have to build a deck with the cards that are chosen. Once we choose them, we can't go back and say, oh, I found this really good card, let me take the other one out and choose one of the other ones. We can't do that. We don't get to pick from all the heroes. It's really difficult to build a draft deck, and it really helps you learn cards as well. You need to up the reward system, or people will stop playing draft. And in my opinion, your best mode that you have out right now is draft. And if you lose player bases off your new best mode because the reward system is not good, people will not stick around for the physical cards for Uprising to come out. And the game will once again tunnel back into its very stale meta where only like 20 people are playing. And you'll have 5-minute queues. And in draft mode, people will stop playing draft because it'll cost them a currency they can't get back in that mode. And people will go into casual. No one will be in ranked anymore because no one wants to play ranked because they don't have the cards or the gold to do it. You need to up the reward system in draft, like super quickly. We've already found bugs in draft where 4 reckless spirits equals no reckless spirits. I found the bug where they really upped the superiority of what cards you find, almost to the degree where it's all you find. So you're gonna have a deck full of one alignment, and then your combos are almost non-runnable, right? It's kind of like that. So that needed to be tweaked. The reward system is another thing that does need to be tweaked. And I will say this, and I hope PlayFusion watches this video or whatnot. I really do say this. I think what PlayFusion needs to start doing is outsource playtesting. They need to outsource their playtesting because their playtesting, from what I understand, I cannot confirm this at all. I don't know. But they playtested it in-house. And if you playtest it in-house, all the only things you're going to do is build the decks that the designers saw the cards to make and build those decks and be like, oh yeah, the cards are working just fine. They work the way the interactions are supposed to work, right? Like they've been working with the playtesting for probably several months now because all they were doing was distribution. The coders had the system and the thing. They were waiting for Nintendo's approval, all this stuff. So people in-house were probably playing the game, probably testing out the cards, doing all this stuff with the new stuff. And within the first week, we found how many bugs that we're reporting, like this interaction isn't working, this interaction isn't working. And I don't know if that's because in-house, they're really busy working on making sure the game is getting out, making sure the codes are working right. They don't have time to play test it. They go home on their free time, and that's when they probably play test it, is at home against this small group of stuff like that. You need to outsource your play testers. You need to outsource people that have never seen the game or at least play the game regularly and just say, hey, here's the new card set. Build whatever you think. Legitimately try and break the game. Just do what you can as much as possible to break this game so we can find bugs before the game goes live. Because, like I said, we found how many bugs on the bug report just within the first few days that they probably didn't catch because either they didn't have enough time to test it on their own time because they were working on the game as opposed to play testing the game to find the bugs. And it kind of feels bad that it's like, okay, well, what do you think of this mode? They didn't have that feedback. The developer's like, hey, we built the card set to make this theme deck. It works. Awesome. Now it's out, and people aren't really designing those theme decks because that's not what they have in mind. They're designing decks on their own, and we're breaking the game. And we're like, hey, this needs to get fixed. Hey, this needs to get fixed. And if you're fixing it after the game comes out, all you're doing is backtracking your pipeline. You're building it up with all the things that you could have fixed before the game came out, and now you're becoming further delayed for future advancements in the game. And the last thing we want right now is for you guys to be any more delayed than you already are. You guys have so much on your plate with Warhammer now, and now this, and if you're consistently right now just fixing bugs, those should have been done before the game came out. You should maybe fix like a handful, but not find so many the first day out. That should have been designed or fixed before the game came out. Like Mudturtle just said, you need to have an open beta for the people who play the game really well, for like your top leaderboard. Like, hey, here's like, I don't know, 50 to 100 tickets for open beta. You guys play the game a lot. You clearly show that you play the game a lot. Do you want to join the open beta? Do you want to test it out on just not even your account? Give them a separate account to test the open beta with all the cards. Just one of those all the cards open beta thing where they have like a God account. You have all the cards. Play the cards. Just don't talk about it. Don't reveal it on your streams. None of that. Just don't talk about it. But try and break the game. That's what it should be, is play this, break the game for us, send us back reports like game testers do at actual game companies. You need to get outsourced beta testers so you can fix the game. That's what we want. That's what we need is for... I don't want to sound... Because PlayFusion is a tech company. It's not a gaming company, right? PlayFusion does augmented reality equipment. They do a whole bunch of other things outside of just Lightseekers. And I think some people kind of get that confused, is they think of PlayFusion as a gaming company because that's what we associate it with, is with Lightseekers now and Warhammer. They have a lot of income based on their tech. Like, Lightseekers is a fun game that they've made on the side, and it's really fun, but ultimately they are a tech company. So we can't keep thinking of them as a gaming company. But if they want this game to thrive, if they want this game to be fun, they do need to start having their own kind of Lightseekers division that thinks like a gaming company, that thinks like, okay, this is not just tech, this is not just like, here's the prototype. We need to start thinking and doing research on what gaming companies do to make their games successful, which is beta testing, which is finding out what the reward system should be. Do research on other card games that have come out and try and meet them as their standard. You guys have different because you are also physical and digital, and your scanning thing is really unique to you. But you guys do need to realize that people probably play your digital game more than physical from the tournaments that I've seen. And that's where you're getting a lot of your player base. So start becoming standard. Start meeting the industry standard for the digital with rewards, with all this stuff. You're doing great with the draft mode. That's awesome. You're doing great with adventure mode. That's awesome. But if people are not rewarded with the things for doing well in this game, they're not going to play it. They're not going to play it. They're like, well, why should I play if I'm only getting like 2 packs of things that I already have? Why would I do that? It's 4 hours of my time that I could be doing playing adventure mode. And if your game literally sends everyone into single player mode, the competitive scene is going to die. It's going to die because no one wants to play competitive if the best mode for rewards is just adventure mode. Because if you can get the same rewards for leveling up gold or your cards in gold in adventure mode, why would you go play ranked? Unless you're super hyper competitive. Why would you go play ranked? Why would you play draft if you get gold in adventure mode, not in draft? Like, it's those things that I don't think PlayFusion has fully comprehended yet. They were doing really well on designing these cards and finally fleshing out the game with a bunch of different dynamics and ways cards interact with each other. They're doing awesome. They're finally coming into their own of how the game is going to work. But as a whole, the reward system needs to be improved. They need to have beta testers on their next set to find these bugs that we've all found within a week of the game coming out, right? We need to have beta testers. Even if it's just like 10 people. Be like, all right, here's like for 8 hours. You have the game for 8 hours. Break it as much as possible. Send us back a report. Then like the next day, hey, another 8 players or 10 players. Something like that. Just get the players to test your game, because the players are ones that will break it for you, hands down. We will find ways to ruin this game where you go, okay, this needs burn. Okay, this needs to not have that interaction. Okay, they've done so many changes to the cards because we, the player base, have found reasons for them to change it. They haven't found those reasons. We did on our own because we don't think the way they do is making the game. So I do think that's what PlayFusion's next step into improving them as a company for gaming-wise. Outside of the tech, they need a new division for the gaming-wise to start thinking like a gaming company. They need to find a better way to do the reward system. They need to find a better way to do their bug finding with beta testers so they can do these hot fixes and whatnot. And then at the same time, just as a little side note, when big updates like this come out, please have the entire list of patch notes come out in as much detail as possible the same day. The same day. I don't know how many times we've seen people that just didn't read the news report that, Abyss Tentacles got, or not, the Assassins, Dust Talon Assassin got changed so that abilities don't trigger the way they used to. So many people found that as a bug, and it's not a bug. If you read the news post, it's perfect. But like, you need to do very thorough patch notes every time you do an update. And it should almost be one of those things where you go into the game and you have an update. It should be a pop-up menu saying, here's all the patch notes for this update. So we can read them in-game. We don't have to go to your website. We read the notes in-game before we even go back to the game. A lot of games do that now, like, hey, these are the things that are changed. You could have read them online beforehand. We put the patch notes out like a week in advance so you know what's happening to the game. It's going to change the update. And then the game goes live. People who might not have read those news updates go into the game. Boom. They are just shoved it in your face of these are the updates. Read them so you have no questions about it. Like, people who play the game only on the game need to find the updates on the game. They need to find them on the game. Otherwise, we'll have so many questions. Hey, is there a bug with Dust Talon Assassin? The update made it so my tentacles didn't trigger. It's like, no, it was on the news post. But they didn't read the news post because they just played the game. And they found it as a bug. So, you just found it out 10 minutes ago. Yeah, exactly. They need to start doing a lot of, I guess they need to change their mindset if they want to continue with this amazing game, to start thinking of it as a game. and they need to start meeting the company standard for games. And being a tech company as they are, they kind of got to like almost have their own division for this game. They need to make a division for the game if they want the game to succeed. They can't keep, half patooting it, because I don't want to say I got a sweet emote that means I can't swear, and I'm gonna keep sticking with it because that emote's awesome. And they're just kind of half slacking on it, and they're putting it out and they're like, yeah, we're doing really good, and then we break it and they have to backtrack to fix it, and it's delaying their process. And if they keep delaying the game, people are gonna leave. People are gonna leave. So please, from the bottom of our hearts, PlayFusion, we know that you're a tech company, you're not a gaming company. I can let a lot of things slide on that, but you have finally come out with your biggest update to date for this game. Do not let this die. Do not let this game die. It's such a treasure for a lot of people out there. It means a lot to us to play it. It means a lot of us to have it. Please do not let this game die. And we have advice to give. And all I ask is that you have advice. Give it in constructive ways. Don't bash them. Don't insult them. Don't be rude. If you have advice, be constructive with it so they can take notes, get their own opinions, be like, oh, he said to do this. What do you guys think? Like, oh, that's the right idea, but maybe we can adjust the numbers. Or like, he's on the right track, but he's like, not quite what we're going to do. We'll kind of diverge a little bit to make it our own and do it our own way. So that's all I want. That's all I want is for everyone who does have advice, give it constructively. Give it constructively so that they can then take notes, take it to their company, and when they do talk about this at meetings, they'll be like, okay, he had a lot of good opinions, he had a lot of good points. What can we take from it? That's all. That's all we got to do. So, PlayFusion, I love the game. I love it so much. This update was much needed. It's very, very good. I have opinions on how to improve it to make it so people don't leave. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking is just improve the reward system. Next set, find beta testers. I will more than happily be a beta tester for you. Just start thinking this more as a game. Do research of how gaming companies work and start thinking of it more as a game and not a product that you can sell as a tech company. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. You will find many testers out there who are willing to break your game. I can guarantee you it. I can guarantee you it. All right, guys.